Hello guys, welcome to Trillionaire, where you can find various money-related topic and enjoy it. I hope you will like the video. Let's get started.
The wealthy kings and rulers of history, some of whose wealth is so vast their fortune is incalculable. Today we're going to take a look at the 5 wealthiest rulers that have ever ruled. We'll take a look at how they got their money, and more importantly, how they spend it. Number 5. Augustus Caesar, $4.6 trillion. You know, that guy Julius Caesar, who contributed to the rise of the Roman Empire, had a fling with Cleopatra and got stabbed. He had an adopted son named Augustus, who happens to be one of the richest people in history with an estimated fortune of $4.6 trillion. He owned a fifth of the wealth of the Roman Empire, which was no small empire, accounting for 30 of the world's GDP at the time. Upon Julius Caesar's death, Augustus received 75 of his wealth, which was a vast amount of money. How vast? Well, though there isn't an exact number, it is widely known that after his death, Julius Caesar left 300 sesterces to every Roman citizen, which was the equivalent of 4 months' wages, and this barely left a dent in the fortune that he left to his heir. Augustus continued what Julius started by doubling the size of the Roman Empire over the course of his 40-year rule. Upon his own death, Augustus was quoted as saying, "I founded Rome of clay, I leave it to you of marble." And indeed he did. He founded a courier service, police and fire services, and a standing army. He also helped modernize Rome by building roads to connect cities and businesses. During his rule, he resided in what is now known as the House of Augustus. The palace featured frescoes on every wall and mosaics on every ceiling across multiple extravagant rooms. There were even rooms that were solely dedicated to displaying weapons and art. For Akbar the First, $21 trillion. The next ruler on our list is a descendant of none other than Genghis Khan, and although he didn't quite conquer as much as his ancestor, he still made quite an impact on history and got to enjoy an impressive fortune. Mughal Emperor Akbar the First had an estimated worth of $21 trillion, although many historians consider his wealth to be incalculable. Akbar the First took to the throne of the Mughal Empire in India in 1556, and he spent the majority of his reign expanding his territory. By the end of his rule, in 1605, he had tripled the size of his empire, which then stretched from northern Afghanistan all the way to India. His luxurious palace was known to have exquisite art carvings and opulent furniture, but little is actually known about how he spent his fortune. What is known, however, is that Akbar was incredibly progressive and tolerant for his time. Religions coexisting was practically unheard of, but Akbar worked hard to unite his territory and unify people, whether they were Muslim, Hindu, or anything in between. Though he was Muslim himself, many of the city leaders and his advisors were Hindu, and they worked with him to translate Hindu literature, making it accessible to all. Number 3. Zhao Zu, $30+ trillion. Zhao Zu, Emperor of Shenzong of Song, is yet another ruler whose wealth is almost beyond comprehension. Experts know it is easily above $30 trillion, but the exact amount is a bit hard to pin down, probably because he was the ruler of China from 1067 to 1085, and that was a hell of a time to be ruler of China during perhaps one of the most prosperous eras in history. Around this time, China invented gunpowder, printing magnetic compasses, and the world's first paper currency. They stood as the world's top bronze makers, which earned them a fortune. They also had another claim to fame: rice, which had an incredible increase in production following a law that allowed farmers to own their own land. Rice became a staple of their economy, which made them a commercial superpower, and they didn't have to worry about others stepping in and trying to get a piece of the pie. Rice, because they also formed the world's first navy in order to protect their tree roots. While China was doing well, the emperor was doing even better. During this time period, China had a highly centralized economy, which allowed their ruler to have an immense control over the finances of the country. However, it appears he used at least some of that financial control in a selfless way. He was one of the first rulers rulers to found a tax collection system, and he was behind one of the first versions of a welfare system which was put in place to improve the lives of peasants, the unemployed. Trillions upon trillions of dollars. We've reached a point in the list where the rulers' fortunes are so vast, so incalculable, that they're almost incomprehensible. In fact, the two people who historians consider to be the most wealthy rulers in history will be tied for first, solely because the kingdoms they reigned overstretched so far and the treasures they held inside were so large. First, we'll start with the infamous Genghis Khan, whose wealth is estimated to have been well into the trillions. He is known for expanding the Mongol Empire to be the largest contiguous empire in the world, stretching over 12 million square miles between the coast of China and reaching as far as the Adriatic Sea in Europe. Genghis Khan came from nothing to become one of the most fearsome rulers of all time. His father was poisoned when Genghis was just 9 years old, and Genghis was sent to live in the tribe of his future wife, Bort. 7 years later, Bort was kidnapped, and Genghis spent months tracking her down and rescuing her. Genghis then worked to bring all the nomadic tribes of Mongolia under his rule, and later worked to expand his kingdom through rather devastating means. His troops would descend upon towns and cities, conquering them and taking all the riches found within. It's estimated that over the course of his rule, 40 million people were massacred. Some experts even estimate that he reduced the world's population by as much as 11%. His wealth can be attributed to the vast land acquired in his conquering, as well as the property taken within those cities and territories. Upon Genghis Khan's death, he was buried in a tomb in a secret location that still hasn't been found. To this day, the tomb is rumored to contain a portion of his vast fortune, so perhaps someday we may find it and get a true picture of just how wealthy this fearsome ruler truly was. Men's Musa. Trillions upon, well, you get the idea. Tied for first is a ruler whose wealth was so immense that just spending part of it on vacation was enough to the economy of Egypt for 12 years. No, seriously, Jeff Bezos has money, but he doesn't have a world power money. Mansa Musa was the king of Mali during a very affluent time, while Europe struggled with the Black Death, famine, and civil war. Mansa Musa was busy building mosques, universities, and palaces, and also ruling an empire that was in control of more than half of the world's gold, which would have been worth well over $5 trillion. Mali was rich with gold, salt, and ivory, and after Mansa Musa expanded the kingdom to include the port city of Timbuktu, they were in charge of a trade route that enabled their economy to soar. Mansa Musa's biggest display of wealth was his pilgrimage to Mecca. He didn't the 2,000-mile trip alone, however. He brought a caravan that included 60,000 people, including 1,000 attendants, 500 slaves who carried 3,000 pounds worth of gold, and 500 camels who carried 30,000 pounds of gold. Basically, the modern equivalent of his journey would be driving from Rodeo Drive to Wall Street with hundreds of solid gold Bugattis. Now, that's luxury. On this very flashy pilgrimage, Mansa Musa stopped in Cairo, spending 3 months there. During that time, he gave away and spent so much gold that he actually caused the value of gold to depreciate. It took Egypt almost 12 years to recover just from the impact of his shopping spree. So there you have it, the richest rulers in history. What about you guys? What would you do if you were worth trillions upon trillions of dollars and ruled almost all of the world? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and see you in next video.